The life of a spy isn't as glamorous as I thought. But it isn't dull.
Good evening.
Good evening. Yes. Sorry about the little false start there, but we're good to go now. My name, of course, welcome to another episode of Critique Corner.
Also known as the All Morbius channel the last 2 weeks. We were talking about Morbius's failure before it was cool.
Yes. And Ninja Toe. But yeah, I'm Daniel Parker, and joining me as always is
DB Fastbinder, your partner in crime.
Yes. And before we get started, I would like to thank everybody who's joining us and watching us right now. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button and hit the bell for notifications, and of course, like the stream. All that helps us out greatly.
Become an analog member, which is basically you mail Daniel a check for $5 every month.
Yes.
Since YouTube hasn't monetized us yet, we do now have 43 subscribers, which means that we no longer have the ultimate number.
Yes. No longer 42.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's Miller season.
Yeah, if you're a police officer, it certainly is. But let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Yes. But yes, if you are new to the stream, if you're new here, what we do is, of course, we start off with our thing of the week, and then we move on to the various topics that we're going to be discussing. And so I will get started with my thing of the week, which is a movie with Sam Neill, but it is not Jurassic World Dominion.
What?
I know. Yeah, so my thing of the week is John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. And hey, Chingus, good to see you. Yeah, drive safe, man.
Yep. Yeah. Or don't drive safe and live tweet it. I mean, that'll be either, whichever one sounds more amusing.
Yeah, yes. But yeah, so John Carpenter's In the Mouth of Madness. And this is the third movie in his so-called Apocalypse trilogy, and basically the other movies aren't connected to each other in any way. The only connection is that they're about the end of the world. The other two being The Thing and Prince of Darkness. And by the way, both of those movies are very good if you haven't seen them yet. But this movie stars Sam Neill. He plays like a private investigator type, and he works for an insurance company. And this publisher sends him to find their best-selling author, a guy by the name of Sutter Kane, who's played by German character actor Jürgen Prochnow. You've probably seen him in a bunch of stuff. You'd recognize him if you saw him.
One of those guys, like he just vanishes into the character, so you're like, oh, it's that guy. What's his name again?
Yeah, him. Yeah. And I'm trying to think who else is in. Charlton Heston is in this movie.
Really?
Yeah, Heston plays the head of the publishing company.
Was Cthulhu ultimately able to take his gun from his cold dead hands?
Probably eventually. But anyway, so Sam Neill's character's name is John Trent, and he's very kind of a real, like, what's the word? Kind of slimy. He's kind of got that weird, like, oh, I wouldn't want to, be friends with this guy. He's kind of a little,
Wouldn't leave him alone with your sister.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. But But anyway, so he's what's interesting is with like Sutter Kane, he's kind of a hybrid between Stephen King and because like Sutter Kane has the same number of syllables as Stephen King, but he's also got a lot of Lovecraft in him too.
Okay.
And I would say probably more. Well, I would say near the end, definitely more Lovecraft than than Stephen King. But anyway, so his books have like a weird effect on. One of the things I like about it is his books have a weird effect on people. Like they kind of like make them crazy and do stuff and everything. And so like Sutter King kind of has this like power to create worlds from his writing, sort of, which has been done before in other movies. But anyway, so and by the way, it's all told in flashback because at the beginning of the movie, Sam Neill's taken off into an insane asylum, and he's telling the story to a doctor, and so you kind of have that like unreliable narrator kind of feel to the movie. But anyway, so he's trying to find Kane, and he starts reading the books, and he's having all these nightmares and hallucinations, and there's actually a really great scene where he's talking to his boss in a restaurant, and they're just kind of sitting there talking, and the window's right next to him, and outside the window there's this crazy guy with an axe who's just walking across the street, and everybody's just freaking out and everything. Of course, they're just completely oblivious. They're like, oh, they're talking amongst themselves, and until the very last minute when the axe goes right through the glass. It's just brilliant scene. But anyway, so Neil ends up teaming, or he goes off to look for Sutter Kane with his editor, and I can't remember the name of the character or the actress who played her, but because I've never seen her in anything before or since this movie. But another actor that's in this movie, Hayden Christensen.
Really?
Yes.
When did this movie come out?
94, I think.
So it would have been when he would have been more appropriate to play Anakin in the Phantom Menace, really.
Yeah. He was about 10, 11 years old. Yeah. But so anyway, they Sam Neill figures out that Kane is in his fictional town, the fictional town of Hobbs End, which is kind of like Stephen King's Castle Rock, although Castle Rock is actually a town in Colorado. But but he's they figured out he's in Hobbs End, even though they're like, oh, Hobbs End doesn't exist, but well, actually it does because he created it. And but yeah, it's of course, the entire time Sam Neill's character is just completely skeptical. He thinks it's a publicity stunt. It's it's not real. And then even when stuff is going down around him, he thinks, oh, these are just actors. It's all special effects and everything. And
crisis actors.
Yeah, crisis actors. Yeah, it's like, I mean, he's skeptical like almost right up until the end, and right up until when he starts seeing all the Cthulhu type monsters that start popping up and everything. And also too with this movie, if you watch Critical Drinkers videos, he sometimes plays a clip of Sam Neill on a bus screaming his head off. That's from this movie.
Okay.
This movie right here, yeah. But it's it's a very very surreal movie, very moody, and it's if you like that kind of thing, and if you like stories about writers, which I enjoy watching stories about writers. This is I would definitely recommend it. Certainly not one of Carpenter's best movies, but I would say his best movie from the 90s, because he didn't do very many good movies in the 90s.
Yeah, you did like that Mars movie or Waters of Mars or whatever.
Ghosts of Mars.
Ghosts of Mars, that's it.
God.
That's right. Waters of Mars was a Doctor Who episode.
Yeah, Ghosts. Yeah, oh, that movie was horrible. Oh, and what was really sad is that was one of the first Carpenter movies I saw.
Oh.
Yeah, I'm sitting there going, okay, this guy's supposed to be like some kind of legendary horror movie director. This movie's terrible. But yeah, but if you watch his stuff in the '80s, it's a different story.
Yeah, the thing I've seen, that one's amazing.
Yeah. The Thing was really good. You can't really go wrong with any of Carpenter's movies in the '80s. Although Christine was okay, I thought.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, give this movie a watch if you're so inclined. It's on Shudder, like my movie last week. So yeah.
Yeah, well, now we can go from the sublime to the ridiculous. Because my choice this week was Kaiju number 8, which I'm glad we have Ninjato and Changus here because they're going to appreciate something I'm about to go into here. So before I get into the references, like just immediately the mind-blowing, oh my God, really? Reference that I picked up on. So actually I'm going to stop sharing my screen for a moment so I have more evidence of something. So I'm just going to move it across and start sharing my screen again in a moment.
Okay.
So anyhow, Kaiju number 8 is about a world that has been attacked by these extremely powerful kaiju. And it's been going on for decades. There's a whole kaiju self-defense force thing. And the soldiers in that unit basically all fight using weapons made out of pieces of kaiju. And they have some cool stuff going on, like different. The armor is made of kaiju muscle fibers, and people have different like battle powers and potentials and synchronization with it, which lets them get different degrees of power. And then there's different ammo types that have different results. Like, we have these freeze bullets from this kaiju that was killed in blah 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 in 1988, and we have these destruction ones that are from the 77 thing. And but of course, it's not all about the huge epic fights. When you have this huge rotting piece of kaiju meat somewhere in the middle of Tokyo, who's going to clean it up? And that's where our main character comes in. And I'm not going to name any names because I do not remember a single name of anybody. I can describe them. I can tell you what their general role in the plot is. But it's one of those things where, partially because it's Japanese names, those could sometimes take a little bit to sink in for me. Part of it is that the characters are very kind of tropes is the way I'll put it. Like, not bad, just very tropey. But so Kaiju number 8. So you have this guy who's nearing his late 30s who has been trying to get into the kaiju defense for the anti-kaiju fighting force. I forget the name of it, for many years to be alongside his childhood friend who has become a superstar there. And he thinks but he's part of the cleanup crew, so he knows the insides of kaiju very well. And during an attack that suddenly starts in the middle of a cleanup operation, he ends up trying to save his younger friend who is also trying to get into the Kaiju Defense Corps. Actually, they aren't friends at the time. He thinks that he's a useless old man, basically. But they bond because he saves his life, but ends up bonding with this kaiju thing, and he turns into the extremely super powerful Kaiju number 8 there. And now it's like the problem. You're a kaiju in the middle of the kaiju defense force. They're bound to want to hunt and kill you at some point, man. So, Kafka is the MC and Reno is his friend. Yep, see, Holy Ninja Toe fact checking me right there.
Yes.
But and it's basically about him trying to keep his identity. Some people finding out how they respond to it. There's a lot of really awesome fight scenes. The art is actually extremely reminiscent of My Hero Academia, to the point where if I found out that the creator of it had been an assistant on that series, I would not be the least bit surprised. Like, some of the character designs are extremely close. Now, what I was alluding to, so overall, would I recommend it? I don't feel bad. I don't feel bad about reading this when I'm on the elliptical on my iPad using the Shonen Jump app that costs $2 a month. if I was shelling out $10 a floppy for this, I might feel differently about it. I don't know. It's good, but it's not like earth shattering. Um, I think I think it has a chance to get really good. Like I think it's building somewhere, and which already puts it ahead of most American comics these days.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and it's just well drawn. It's got a cool style. However, however,
Mhm.
because of some friends that I have who have dragged me kicking and screaming through a series of Ultraman, a few series of Ultraman over the years, I was in the middle of it. Like, wait a minute, this is just different Ultraman. This is Ultraman if he was turning into a kaiju instead of it, like one of the kaiju they're actually hunting instead of being entirely different sort of alien man. It
Yeah.
even has the same sort of thing where he bonds with the kaiju to transform. And also, it's like the most popular one is Ultra 7, Kaiju number 8, one number different. Like, oh my god, this is just different Ultraman.
Yeah.
This is not surprising though, because once you've had your third eye opened to Japanese culture, you realize that all of Japanese fiction is just people making sly references to Ultraman. Dragon Ball, Chi-Chi's Chi-Chi when she was introduced had an Ultra 7 helmet that she would take off and throw like Ultra 7 does. Pokemon, Ultra 7 had capsules that he would toss out to summon different monsters that would help him out. And I have some pictorial evidence here too. My Hero Academia has two different characters that are just 100% Ultraman references that are not the least bit subtle. They're both in Class B. So here's Ultra 7. Notice the notice the cut of the outfit here, and then you got this girl from Class B with a hat with the fin up top.
Yeah.
Then you've got Miklas here, who is one of Ultra 7's buddies, I believe, who is one of the ones that gets summoned from the Pokeball, basically. And then here's Pony from Class B.
Yeah.
Same big goofy, or similar big goofy eyes, similar curvy horns. I'm sure that's a reference. I'm sure.
Yes, yes.
So, but enough for that diversion. Basically, if you want to enjoy Japanese media without constantly going, "Hey, I got that reference," as far as Ultraman, avoid that series. Kaiju number 8. Kaiju number 8 is good. It's good shonen fun. It's not like, I would say it's not quite as deep as or not quite as impactful and tragic as My Hero and especially Demon Slayer can be, but it's like you don't always need that.
Yeah.
Speaking of deep impacts, it's time for really? You haven't seen Ultraman stuff? I am legitimately shocked. Maybe that was Changus talking about it in the Discord.
Yes, and we will be getting to Ezra. Yeah.
You have to ease into Ezra news.
Yeah, yeah.
So last weekend, a certain obscure dinosaur movie came out. You might have. I didn't hear anything about this. A Jurassic World Dominion.
I don't know anything about it.
Yeah, it's made 145 million, which is really good.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, this is the weekend chart. I believe I have, yeah. So the weekend chart, Top Gun has been out for 3 weeks. Doctor Strange has been out for 6 weeks. Top Gun is almost caught up with Doctor Strange, because Doctor Strange basically came out into theaters, had a barn-busting first weekend, and then died.
Yeah.
Also, you might notice scrolling down here that there's absolutely no Morbius here. None whatsoever.
Oh no.
Oh no. Okay, you like Gridman. Okay. Yeah, so Changus is probably like, ha, pleb. It's not Pony isn't a reference to Miklas, it's a reference to Miklas Dark from the 1983 series. or something like that. The curve of the horns is entirely different.
Yes.
Anyway, So yeah, Jurassic World, from everything I've heard, has kind of mixed response.
Mhm.
Um, the best review I saw of it was, so none of the Jurassic World movies have been any good, but CGI dinosaurs from Cool Guide Aaron Sparrow.
Yes.
Uh, Actually, I have this twice. That's what. Okay, I was wondering what that picture actually was.
Ah.
Uh, Doing it live, folks.
Doing it well,
Anyway,
yes.
that was the only big release. Also, Bob's Burgers is interesting because I enjoyed that movie, but it's kind of not making much. But it's hard to know if it's actually doing well or not because,
Mhm.
and this is weird, we still don't have a budget for it, so it's impossible to judge. Maybe
Yeah.
about 30 million internationally. Is like if it was like a $10 million movie, that's amazing. If it was a $100 million movie, oh my god.
Yeah.
So we have nothing to judge by. But
No.
Top Gun Maverick is just a beast.
Yes.
Also, now Top Gun Maverick has actually surpassed Doctor Strange in half the time.
Yes.
And since I'm kind of rooting against Doctor Strange just because of what I've heard about it, I am
Mhm.
by proxy rooting in favor of Top Gun Maverick, even though I haven't actually watched it or seen the original, honestly.
Oh.
But we're talking like about $170 million gap. I don't think Doctor Strange hits $1 billion at this point.
No, and
It's lost all momentum.
I think it's pretty much it's pretty much done. I mean it's dropping on Disney Plus in a week.
Yeah,
So
that's going to be.
yeah, that's it.
It's a tale of two trend lines. Doctor Strange is way below what they thought was possible from its first
Mhm.
weekend. Well, Top Gun has these insane holds. Like, it's unusual for a movie to have to drop less than 50% week over week
Yeah.
for 3 weeks in a row. So it's just people are loving this movie. I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Yeah, I have too. It's I'm kind of halfway tempted to go see it in the theater. I mean, it's
Yeah.
if they're because I think that's why it's doing so well is because word of mouth is going around that it's really good, and you got a lot of repeat business too. People go see it once and then they go see it again.
Yep. Meanwhile, for WandaVision 2 and the Multiverse of Madness,
Yeah.
word of mouth has been extremely tepid. So they're
Mhm.
lucky that it's a Marvel movie. People who really are invested in the MCU are not are going to rush out there and see it first, so that they don't end up uh, end up in trouble or
Yeah,
get
yeah,
spoiled.
yeah. They don't get spoiled. Yeah, which I used to care about that sort of thing. Now I don't care.
Right? It's basically, I've actually gotten to a point where I will watch reviews of movies if I don't intend to see them because it's like, well, like maybe they'll convince me.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting, like, and this is like where you can kind of see the beginning of the end for Doctor Strange as far as its momentum goes,
Mhm.
is actually this first Monday to Tuesday here. It is apparently extremely unusual for the first Tuesday to make less than the first Monday.
Mhm.
Because a couple reasons for that. One is that Monday people are crawling back into the office and maybe just zonked out. By
Mhm.
Tuesday, they've recovered enough from Monday to consider going out. But also, a lot of theaters will do a discount Tuesday night because it's like historically the worst night for movies. So
Mhm.
that tends to get a boost for popular movies. So
Yeah.
to see a decline Monday over Tuesday means, hey, this is great. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
not, yeah. To use non-words to communicate the idea of
Yes.
meh.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I can attest to the Tuesday phenomena with movie theaters because I worked at a movie theater when I was in college, and I worked at one of the large theater chains that has one like whatever the membership things, and
Mhm.
Tuesday nights free popcorn night.
Oh man, if they're giving away the popcorn, they really want you in there.
Yes. So yeah.
Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah.
um, I'll be very curious to see what Thor does after that.
Yeah, I am very curious to see what Thor does. That's yeah, it could, especially given the reaction to the trailers and you know,
Right, which I'm sure that a lot of people will go see it and enjoy it.
mhm,
It's just kind of like, okay, you've kind of lost the core fan base, and it's a storyline that now don't let anybody tell you that Jane Foster Thor didn't sell in the comics, because it actually did. That's because
mhm,
it was like a big mystery that they built up over years. Like,
yeah,
who is the female Thor? As opposed to just dropping it right in.
yeah, yeah, I mean, yeah, they revealed it before they even started filming the movie.
Yes.
It's just like, oh, okay, great.
Uh, Now, in other news, apparently a big movie drops tomorrow, which I actually was completely off my radar. My friend Jimmy, who's watching now, hey Jimmy, will attest that um, will attest that my reaction to this trailer playing before Bob's Burgers was, "God damn it, I didn't want to know anything about this movie." Now I've had that knowledge forced upon me, and that's Disney's Lightyear, the weird spin-off of Toy Story.
Mhm. Yeah, following the origin story of Buzz Lightyear, the favorite action figure of Andy, and yeah, you get it's yeah, oh God, it's a weird like little weird meta thing happening in it. You know, it's
And the weird thing is, it's like, man, if this is the movie that Andy was watching as a kid, then the toy is just completely unfaithful to it, because this is like a serious action movie. Like Buzz is not, from what I could tell, Buzz is not very quipping. I mean, Buzz Lightyear is basically a kid-friendly Zap Brannigan when you get down to it, all bluster
oh yeah, yeah.
and haha and bravado. Right? It seems like he's like a very sensitive, well-rounded character, which means he's not Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah.
So it's almost like Batman Returns comes out, and you have a talking Batman who is quipping like Adam West. It's like there's a bit of a disconnect there.
Yeah. Yeah, and well, what gets me too is there actually was a Buzz Lightyear cartoon show that was on, God, like late '90s, I think.
90s, early 2000s, yeah, somewhere in there.
Yeah, Patrick Warburton was the voice of Buzz Lightyear.
Yeah, and he would have actually been a better choice than Chris Evans. Actually, he would have been a better choice for Chris Evans for Buzz Lightyear, as he was in all the other Toy Story movies.
Yes.
And D Rhino asks a good question.
Yeah, what's with Chris Evans and the fans again?
Um,
Hey, Serena.
hey, we got a full house tonight.
Yeah.
Hit that like button.
Yes, hit the like button. So what happened was there's a scene in Lightyear where you have a same sex couple.
It is apparently short, and it's the typical type of Disney bait where you could very easily have cut it out for foreign markets, except that after the parental rights bill in Florida and the big brouhaha with that,
Mhm.
uh, Disney was kind of
Interesting.
boxed into a corner. It was like, okay, we'll put it in all markets, which means that it's now not opening in a bunch of markets they would typically open in.
Yeah. In parts of the country that are not very
Not parts of the country, no.
no, not parts of the country, parts of the world that do not look favorably upon alternative lifestyles.
Yeah, like so Chris Evans it's a kind of an amusing case of where he ran into trouble. It's like, well, if you don't like it, then you're an idiot or something along those lines. It's like, oh,
Yeah,
you're calling people of a particular Middle Eastern faith idiots.
yeah.
Eh,
Although, I don't think he quite made that connection, though.
No,
I don't think he's that bright.
well, I mean, it's nice to stand for your principles, but it's also like if your principle is, I'm not even, I don't want to get too culture war about it.
Yeah.
Suffice to say that bad choices were made that will probably ultimately cost Disney money, and they'll be unhappy about that fact.
Yes.
Yeah, because they probably would have liked to release in Saudi Arabia and Indonesia and Malaysia and
Oh.
yeah.
And last time I checked, I don't think it's got a release in China.
Yeah, China is also surprisingly anti-gay, which is
Uh-huh.
kind of interesting.
Yeah.
It's funny. It's like communism is actually not very gay friendly when you get down to it.
No. No, there are quite a few people who are communists, past and present, who are not very LGBTQ plus friendly.
Che Guevara for one,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Castro.
Castro, yeah.
But again, we're getting a little bit too
Yeah,
politics.
we're getting a little.
But yeah, we're getting a little into it. But
But yeah.
basically, it's just one of those things where it's kind of amusing to watch a certain amount of hypocrisy and things like that, and
Yeah.
where people make statements on social media that play to one crowd but not another, which
Yes.
ultimately just brings like a kind of halo of unhappiness around a product.
Yeah. And yeah, it'll be interesting to see how well this movie does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In lighter news, Morbin time. This may very well be the last time we have an excuse to bring up Morbin time. And I
Yes.
actually don't have a VTuber clip to share this time because even they're done talking about it.
Yes.
So for last weekend, you may recall that was the weekend where, actually, no, it was the weekend prior where they had spent a bunch of, well, actually, they put Morbius back in the theater going, oh, we have all these memesters online. They probably want to actually go see it. They did not.
No.
Now, I actually asked Valiant Renegade on shout out to his channel. He has like a really good analytics about Hollywood from a financial perspective. I asked him in a super chat if Sony actually lost money re-releasing Morbius, and he said that because it's a major movie theater, probably what just happened is that they got the space, and then AMC and everyone else just said, "Okay, fine. It didn't make a profit, so we're keeping almost all of it."
Ah.
So it probably did not actually cost them money. It was more an opportunity cost thing.
Okay.
But you might go, well, Morbius might be, maybe Morbius just wasn't the type of movie that people would go to theaters for. Maybe people are renting it online. That's it. And here we are at number 8,
Ooh.
where Uncharted has been at the top of the home box office charts for multiple weeks running now on the numbers.
Oh, that's
Uh,
interesting.
yeah, I mean it's actually kind of I can definitely understand that because it's a type of movie where not a lot of I should say a decent number of people saw it, but it wasn't
Mhm.
like it was before the actual summer movie season.
Yeah.
I believe it was released in January or so. So it's kind of like
Yeah.
usually the dead zone. But
Yeah.
COVID something has completely screwed up scheduling. So
Yes.
people just release things when they can.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, it is in fact not Morbin time.
No, it's not Morbid time.
So at least Sony has Uncharted to take off some of the unhappiness.
Yes. Ah,
So
it's
let's get away from this numbers and
yes.
speaking of celebrities who have cults,
Oh
like
yes.
Jared Leto does.
Jared Leto.
Ezra Miller is continuing to be in more and more and more trouble, and it's kind of amazing because it's like,
Yeah.
how does this keep happening?
It's that's the thing. Like well, I've said before, I'll say it again. He's not a well individual, and
Nope.
I think you pointed this out once when we were talking about him. That he's never had anybody say no or they have never had anyone say no to them.
Right, it's the impression you definitely get watching them anytime they're on anything.
Hmm. Yeah, and that's the thing. Like with allegations like this, and we've seen it time and time again. Like more and more people start coming out, and it's like, oh,
It's actually part of Amber Heard's problem is that she came out against Johnny Depp and pretty much nobody else did.
right. it was quite the opposite. Everybody came out to defend him.
So these new accusations are that Ezra, a mother and her 12-year-old were granted a temporary harassment protection order against Miller in Massachusetts after alleging the actor behaved inappropriately towards the child of 12 and also brandished a gun in a threatening manner. According to the Daily Beast's investigation, the family was at a downstairs neighbor's house in Greenfield, Massachusetts. They were playing Parcheesi. Actually, this is weird. The visiting neighbor told the outlet that Miller then focused on the child, allegedly pestering them with compliments and comfortably hugging them and touching their hips. Both Miller and the child are non-binary and use they/them pronouns. Also, Miller got into a fight about the game of Parcheesi, claiming it had Rastafarian origins. The neighbor pushed back and said, "Name the sect," at which point Miller allegedly brandished a gun, talking like that could get you to a really serious situation.
Oh, wow. Oh, man. Yeah, I've said this before. I'll say it again. I'm pretty sure they weren't acting in that movie where We Need to Talk About Kevin, where Ezra Miller is
Yes.
playing Kevin. I don't think Ezra Miller was doing a whole lot of acting in that movie.
Yeah. Now you might wonder, well, that's kind of interesting. Like, you have all these legal proceedings. What has Ezra had to say about it? Well, Ezra Miller taunts police as they remain missing. "You cannot touch me." They are in hiding, refusing to let themselves be served, and they taunted the police on Instagram before deleting the account.
Yeah.
"You cannot touch me. I am in another universe," read one meme posted by Miller.
So they actually think they are the Flash.
They vibrated and went into the next Earth over to lay low for a bit.
Yes.
So I listened to a very interesting discussion on Midnight's Edge about this, where it's the question is, what the hell does Warner Brothers do now?
Yeah, we talked about that last week. Just like,
because they've got the fault. It's even worse than I thought it was, because it may not be within Warner's power to just say, "Look, we got to scrap this. It's radioactive," because they have not reshot. They have shot this movie twice now. They already reshot it apparently to make it act as a springboard for their next set of DCEU movies.
Oh God.
So it's a pivotal movie that they now can't release in its current form. So it's like, okay, what the heck do we do now? Because we can't just scrap it. We have investors who would, probably sue us if we tried.
Yeah.
Because like when you hear that, like, Disney makes a movie, it's not just Disney making a movie. They aren't ponying up all of the money up front. They're going through investors who, like, this bank chips in 20 million. This investment group chips in however many million, and then Disney puts up some of it. So it's not just Warner Brothers' decision to make this movie.
There are a lot of moving parts with movies like this, and like you were saying, like there needs to be a return on investment, at least some return on investment.
Right. Even if you threw $100 in and got 50 back, you at least got the 50 back. And the worst part is that because of the structure of the movie, Ezra is not only playing one Flash. You could maybe like green screen out one Flash. Ezra is playing 3 multiverse Flashes in practically every single scene.
Oh man. He's definitely menace to society, and Yeah, I kind of agree with that. They probably, yeah, after Justice League just was terrible, they probably should have just said, all right, let's wipe the slate clean. And
Yeah, I think Aquaman was your template where you give lip service to you. Oh yeah, we totally fought. What's his name?
oh,
Steppenwolf.
Steppenwolf.
We
Yeah,
fought Steppenwolf, and he is mentioned in one scene, and there's no other reference to the Justice League.
right.
That
Yeah.
probably could have just taken the two characters that worked, moved forward, and just I think their current approach, where it seems like they aren't worried about every movie necessarily tying into each other,
Hmm.
is probably their best bet. Just because even the MCU is starting to lose some of its luster. It's like
Yeah.
they're now playing catch up 10 years later.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm still really confused about where the Batman fits into it. Is it just its own separate thing, or?
It started off life as the Affleck Batman, then Affleck got canceled,
Right.
and
Yeah.
and so they completely retooled it. So
Okay.
it's not actually part of any continuity. It's its own special thing.
Okay. Yeah.
They are making a Gotham PD TV show off of it, which could be interesting.
Yeah.
But yeah, we've said before we'd rather just see a trimmed down alternate cut or a trimmed down sequel.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'm beginning to understand now why Wonder Woman, the second Wonder Woman movie, was set in the 80s, even though that movie was just
That movie was awful
yes.
because it is really just well, I mean, it's the result of what happens when you put you bet on the wrong horse. When that horse's name was Zack Snyder.
Mhm.
Now, I know there are people who love Zack Snyder's movies, and he did good with 300. It is undeniable that he is extremely polarizing with what he puts out.
Mhm.
And you know who else once said, "I'd like to make a movie that makes half the audience happy and half the audience pissed off."
Ah, yes, good old Ryan Johnson.
Good old Ryan Johnson. Honestly, it's like it's kind of an interesting thing. It's like it's in the DNA over at Warner Brothers DC to just want to deconstruct these heroes.
And I don't understand that.
It's like in the comics, I kind of get it because you've been making them for 80 years for some of these characters. So it's like, okay, what else do you do with them?
Yeah.
Like the movies are where you have like the definitive vision of a character.
Yeah. And with movies, you're bringing in people who don't read the comic books.
Right. So they aren't bored of Superman.
Right. Yeah.
So it's just
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
we will probably be continuing to discuss Ezra Miller for the foreseeable future.
Yes. Yeah.
I'm seriously thinking that at some point we're going to have Rekieta Law and everybody else live streaming the Ezra Miller trial or whatever.
Oh yeah. That will be happening. I would imagine. Yes.
Assuming there is a trial of some sort, I guess.
Yeah.
But,
it'll be, obviously we'll have to keep an eye on it, see how this goes and how it ends.
Although I heard one lawyer commenting on this, the number one thing you do if you're in trouble, do not taunt the police. The police are busy people, and maybe you could fall through the cracks if you don't taunt them.
Yes.
Or,
yeah.
but now you've made it personal.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Part of me wonders if maybe if they didn't do a Polanski.
Yeah.
Roman Polanski,
just without the body of work.
Yes. Yeah. Without the body of work. Yeah. Get a suite in a hotel in the south of France named after you.
Yeah.
Because I stayed in that room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's the stains.
Yes. Yeah. That's a story for another time.
Yes. A story for this time in lighter news.
Yes.
Is so Marvel's doing something kind of odd. They are making a Wonder Man series. They're combining the Shang-Chi filmmaker with the head writer of Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Community.
Oh.
Have you ever seen those two shows?
I have not, but I'm familiar with them. Yeah.
I've seen like a little bit of Community, and I've seen about a season's worth of Brooklyn Nine-Nine. It's like Brooklyn Nine-Nine is kind of a funny show. Like it's very like irreverent of cop tropes and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
You have Andy Samberg as like the ultra super cop, which is kind of farcical in the face of it. But yeah, it's a good show. It's just like a very weird tone for Wonder Man, because Wonder Man is like a very tragic character. He was in love with the Scarlet Witch and he died, and he got brought back as kind of like a ghostly figure. I know they've kind of made him, I think in the comics he might have been more ridiculous a little recently, but honestly everyone in the comics has been more ridiculous recently.
Yeah.
Like he died in his first appearance, which I think was the first Avengers annual, which I read from a library book once when I was like very young. I remember that day. We ended up going to go see a filming of Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So if you want to date me, figure out when was the last time Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs was in theaters. But he got powers from Baron Zemo, but like the powers were killing him, but he died heroically to save the Avengers because he realized that he wasn't working for the goodies. So it's like, but like, and then you have the person behind Brooklyn Nine-Nine in the Community tackling the character.
Yeah, I mean, I will say, before doing Captain America and the Avengers, the Russo brothers started out doing comedies. I mean, they did. I think they directed some episodes of Community, and I know they did some episodes of Arrested Development. So
okay,
it's it's not entirely odd, but I mean, it would be interesting. It'll be interesting to see what they would go with it if they do. My guess is since it's MCU, it's Marvel, they probably are going to go for a more irreverent tone. Yeah, I'm going to be honest. The only Wonder Man the only time I've ever seen Wonder Man was when I was reading Miss Marvel back when it was still Carol Danvers, and they were and like she was leading another Avengers team, and Wonder Man was on that team, and the two of them had a thing.
Man, Carol sure seems to sleep her way around the Marvel universe.
Yes, she does.
Yeah. So I think D. Rhino's response here is indicative of what other people say. Wonder Man. Yeah, he's not a big character at all.
The movie sounds bad already.
I mean, I think that so with the Shang-Chi director, I'm not super enthused. With this writer at the head of it, it has potential. Just because one thing about comedy writers is that they can, observational comedy and like screwball. Yeah, I would say this observational comedy was a lot of and like trope bending comedy requires that the tropes well. So I think it's easier for a comedy writer to do something serious than vice versa. Because you can turn off the funny for a little bit, but you can't turn on the funny if you don't have it.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, like this would actually be a Disney Plus show I'd consider watching.
Yeah. Yeah, I think might as well. I mean, could be good.
Yeah. I've been told that I'm too negative at times. I'll just say like right now when I have a little bit of interest in something, I want to express that. Speaking of completely jumping the freaking shark, Daniel, you inflicted this news upon me. I had managed to avoid it, so you get to tell everyone about it, you monster.
Okay. Yes. I'm very sorry about that. I saw it pop up on my Twitter and went, oh, this is perfect. So news broke yesterday that apparently they are doing a sequel to Joker. This is the Joker, of course, with Joaquin Phoenix, directed by Todd Phillips. And not only are they doing a sequel, but apparently it's going to be a musical because they have cast Lady Gaga to play Harley Quinn.
Yeah, it's like details on her character being kept under wraps, but everybody basically knows it's Harley.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you take one look at her, and it's like, oh yeah, she's playing Harley Quinn.
But they aren't going to jump to punchline. And if you go who's punchline, then you're better off not knowing.
Yeah. But yeah, this. I mean, when I saw this, I went, "Oh, you gotta be kidding me!" Like, like I mean, this is just. Yeah, it's gonna be hilarious. Yeah, and for probably not for the reasons that they were hoping for, because I mean, in a way, it probably could work. I mean, if you've got two people, because from the title, it's whatever it's
Folie à Deux.
Folie à Deux, which I guess is a I know. Yeah, and I don't care about Harley. Yeah,
I don't care about Harley much either these days, but I don't know. Like, this is one of those ideas that, like, it's like when you're in Dungeons and Dragons and the DM tells you it's impossible. And you're like, well, if I get a natural 20, will it hit? Like, fine. If you get a natural 20, it'll hit. No matter how low your stats are.
Yeah. But I mean, if I would say if it's like one of those, if it's gonna be like real surreal and it's all in their heads, like there was an episode of Scrubs. I don't know if you ever watched Scrubs.
I used to, yeah.
Yeah. One of the later episodes, because with shows like that, after they've been on for a while, they start running out of ideas.
Yeah.
They did one episode where they had a patient, this woman who she had I think she had a brain tumor and an aneurysm or something, and all she could hear were people singing. When people were talking to them, she could hear them singing. So if it's like that, maybe, but I mean, I'm going to be honest. I don't think Joker needs a sequel.
Yeah, and your angle makes a lot of sense because the first one, spoiler alert, there was a woman he completely imagined the entire movie.
Mm-hmm.
So the idea of him hallucinating the cute blonde psychiatrist who's trying to fix him, turning into another clown and breaking him out of there, and in a musical escapade. Also, there's a question of what kind of a musical it is, because Guardians of the Galaxy is a particular. You could argue it's a musical. They aren't like actually singing it, but it's got it's dominated by its soundtrack.
Right.
Then you've got musicals like Singing in the Rain, where they have a bunch of unique songs, and the characters are singing the main character.
Mm-hmm.
Then you've got kind of the worst of both worlds, where it's like, what if the Guardians of the Galaxy were singing along with Sweet Home Alabama or whatever in every scene? Like the Glee approach. The Glee approach would be like the worst of both worlds.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
If that ends up being what they do, I'm sorry. I'm sorry I put that toxin out into the world.
Yeah. Well, that could very well be where they go with it. Which would hopefully although I will say hopefully it won't be like Les Miserables where they're just singing the entire time.
And you have people who can't really sing.
Yeah. Sorry, Russell Crowe. Yeah, you can't sing.
Making movies, making songs, we will fight around the world.
Yeah.
Man, actors must hate it when South Park does them, because decades later, there are so many actors who I think, like when I think of them, I think of their South Park portrayal. Like, Miss Jennifer Lopez. I like tacos and burritos.
Funny you should mention that. She gets ticked off if you bring that up around her. She hates that.
I can't necessarily blame her. If somebody was like, I don't know, ADB, like parody me is like, ADB, you never know which one you've never mastered which one is the real one, and you have a sand slash on your wall, you weirdo. My name is DB Fastbinder. My favorite Pokemon is the sand slash. That would get annoying too.
Yes, yeah, it would. but yeah, although I think it's still kind of like it might be a little up in the air as to whether or not it's going to be a musical or not. Hopefully, they might be testing the waters to see if to gauge reaction from people to see if they would want to. This is something they would want.
Right. You know that assuming that guys like say Doomcock, if you assume that Doomcock actually has inside sources, you know that a certain percentage of his sources must be people who work for these companies floating random ideas out there to see how badly they'd take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, okay, this is like Indiana Jones. That's Indiana Jones gets wiped from history, and now this woman who kind of looks like Kathleen Kennedy's idealized self takes over the legacy, and she saves the world. How badly are people going to take that? Ooh, pretty damn badly.
Yeah, very badly. Yeah. Yeah, it's all, and I will say another thing too to point out with this movie that apparently I guess Joaquin Phoenix hasn't officially signed on yet.
Oh no, he could get recast.
Yeah. Hopefully not. Well, and the other thing too was that he went through a pretty radical body transformation when he did that movie. If you remember, he was rail thin. But of course, he might not have to be like that for this movie, but
Yep. It's like it's actually kind of unintentionally in the same category as Wonder Man.
Mm-hmm.
It has interesting ingredients. It could go places.
Yeah. Just depends on how they go with it. Hopefully it won't make it. Hopefully the tone won't. It won't hurt the tone of this movie because Joker was dark.
Yeah. You almost wonder if because of the whole brouhaha around the movie being an incel anthem or whatever back in 2019, if that's what inspired this musical direction just to go totally different.
Maybe, yeah. I would actually, if they were gonna do another like movie, another like Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix, like I would much rather have seen him going up against Batman.
Yeah, like can you imagine how much better the Joker would have been in like that Batman? The Batman Joker was trash. I'm sorry,
I don't.
But imagine if that had been Joaquin Phoenix back there. That would have gotten people excited.
Yes. Yeah, I would have. I would really like to see. Yeah, would have loved to have seen Joaquin Phoenix's Joker going up against Pattinson's Batman. That would have been. If you get that movie would make probably $2 billion.
Yeah, just having that Joker in there would have probably added $50 million to the box office. Like let's be honest.
Oh yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Speaking of things that might add $50 million to the box office. Yeah, we're back to Amber Heard because it's the story that won't go away because she won't go away.
Yeah. Whoever her new PR people are, because she fired her other PR team
mid-trial.
Whoever she's got doing that for her now, they're not doing her any favors because, like, if this were me, I would just be telling her just go away, just go find a nice quiet place to hold up and lay low for a few months. Just
go away. Stop continuing to defame Johnny Depp in the way that you were just found guilty of defaming him.
Yes. Yes, because that interview that she did for NBC has not done her any favors at all.
No. Nate the Lawyer has an awesome mega clip where he took the scene from like 10 different LawTube people when they hit the bit where she's like, it's like, why should we believe you? Well, it's the lawyer of a man who once convinced the world he had scissors. Like, and every single lawyer was like, the hell does that have to do with anything?
Yeah.
30-year-old movie. Like what is that?
Yeah.
It's just amazing watching each person hit it and react to it. Like, wait, what?
What?
It's like a mental, like, in your mind's like a record scratch moment, and she paused after that, like she wanted this awesome point to sink in.
Yeah, and it's just like what? Yeah, well, and that's not even his most famous role either. Like
No,
if you're gonna invoke one of his movie roles, you would pick Jack Sparrow.
right? I convinced him that the man who once convinced the world that he was a pirate.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
and yeah,
it's like,
and
you're an
yeah,
actor. You pretended to be a fish.
yes, and not very well.
No, um, which makes the current round of rumors around what the hell is happening with Aquaman 2 very interesting,
Mhm,
because they're so inconsistent with each other that it might be that throwing it out there and floating it theory.
mhm.
Just like, okay, it's because supposedly Walter Hamada during the trial said, yeah, she's in about 10 minutes of the movie. We pared it down because we couldn't. There was a lot of movie magic in the last one to try to give her any hope of chemistry with Jason Momoa.
Yeah.
Then there was rumors that she had been cut entirely. Then there were rumors that test audiences were being shown a cut where there was 20 minutes of Amber in it, and everyone was like, "What?"
Mm.
And then there are rumors that that she's been replaced with Nicole Kidman, which a lot of people who don't remember that movie, and I actually didn't remember this at first too. Nicole Kidman was Aquaman's mom in the first movie, so she wouldn't be playing Mira. The thought is that, like, you say, oh, Mira died of childbirth or died in childbirth off camera, and then you just, Mira, Nicole Kidman's character is already in the series. You don't have to worry about recasting her. You just,
Mhm.
like, any scene where Mira is there, oh, it's his mom instead.
Momstead, yeah. Yeah, I forgot about that. And Boba Fett played his dad.
Oh yeah, I never knew that.
Yeah.
I thought, I didn't know was in other movies besides.
Yeah, that's like the only other movie I think I've ever seen him in.
Hmm. Well, good for him because it made $1 billion. Although a
Yes.
lot of that was in China, so they didn't get a whole lot of that. But
Yeah, yeah.
still, it's in the big two of the DC EU to make $1 billion: Aquaman and Joker.
Mm.
But of course, Amber Heard is now denying that she was cut from Aquaman 2, even though during the trial, I believe that she said that she had been cut from Aquaman 2. I might have to go back and watch some clips to recall that. But I remember there was like talk of it that she thought she might have been removed
Yeah, I think there
or really
was
trimmed down.
to trim down and yeah, something like that. Yeah. The other thing, you mentioned Midnight's Edge before. I remember they did another video where they like when with the cut of the movie that was 20 minutes long.
Or
Um,
20 minutes of Mira.
20 minutes. Oh yeah, 20 minutes of Mira. Um, that I think that's like the most that she's in the movie, and then like the 10 minutes that like Walter Amada was mentioning, that's the most that or that's the shortest that she can be in the movie without creating a bunch of plot holes.
All Batman v Superman's cut.
Hmm. Yeah. So yeah. So I mean, I don't know. It's of course, Amber Heard has a very loose relationship with the truth.
Yes.
So whether or not whether or not she's right in saying that she hasn't been cut from the movie, I don't know. It if they keep her in the movie, especially if it's the version where she's in it for 20 minutes, then then Warner Brothers is asking for an even greater financial disaster than they would be with The Flash.
Yeah, because Ezra Miller has done more objectively horrible things in
Hmm.
recent memory, and like it's like trying to set a land speed record for how many times can the police be involved before they're actually arrested.
Yeah, because with Ezra Miller, it's been at least 2 dozen times, I think, hasn't it? Something like
It was
that.
like 10 police incidents in Hawaii, and now they're on the lam.
Yeah.
Amber, at the very least, is not wanted by the police at the moment.
No, she's just a terrible human being.
Yes, with multiple mental disorders that combine to make her super emotional, willing to lie on a dime. Like
Yeah.
her jurors have she threw her jurors under the bus. Like, oh, how could they help be distracted by social media? Like, screw you, bitch.
Yeah.
We did not watch social media. We took an oath not to, we were recused, or we weren't recused, but we took an oath not to be overly influenced by that.
Right.
You're a creepy weirdo who would answer a question, stare at us while you answered the question, and start sobbing in your voice. Never actually crying, just sobbing,
Hmm.
making sobbing sounds, and then going stone faced when they ask the next question.
Yeah.
And then, like, that's,
Yeah. That's yeah. Yeah. To quote Obi-Wan Kenobi, you did it yourself.
yes, you did that your own self.
Yes.
So yeah, this is going to be interesting. This seems like it would be the easier one to reshoot. But man, I think I mentioned once that if you're taking over a new job, you kind of want your first, year to be awful, so that you can
Uh-huh.
then, like, man, those last guys who were in charge did these awful things that we're still paying for today, but my new program will make things better.
Hmm.
Um, and then the second year is when you can start improving. You,
Hmm.
boy, I think Zaslav might be getting too much of that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's to use a sports analogy, it's a bit like a coach, a new coach for a team, and they're like, they're expected to, the first year or two, they're probably not expected to do much because they still got all the other players from the old coach who stink.
Right.
Uh, but then, like right around the third or fourth year, it's like, okay, you got your own guys in there, start winning some games,
Yeah.
start doing better.
It's like how the Seattle Mariners have been successfully rebuilding since 2001.
Yeah. Yeah, it's yeah, but God,
Yeah.
it's this is all just such a mess. I do not envy Zaslav at all for having
No.
to wade through this mess and trying to salvage whatever's left of the film side of DC.
Yeah. Which honestly, like, Aquaman made $1 billion, but I remember the crab people and some of the other ridiculously awesome scenes. Like that was a movie where my description of it at the time was, I've never been so happy to have my intelligence repeatedly insulted. Because I think there was one point where it was like, oh, there used to be an ocean with humpback whales in the middle of the Sahara in living memory. Huh.
Right.
And
Okay.
there was like a line in there where it sounded the world is less than 2,000 years old or something like that. It's like, what? I'd have to watch it again just to like it makes no sense at all if you really break it down.
Yeah.
So it's like people. I think a lot of people watch that movie because they like seeing Jason Momoa's pecs,
Hmm.
and the actual plot didn't make as much difference.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, the crab people. I remember that. Well,
That was probably my favorite scene just because of the memes.
yeah. Well, that was James Wan, former
Mhm.
horror movie director, bringing his horror movie ness to the movie to Aquaman, and
Yep.
just
So now that we've kind of laid out a few of these situations, let's do some lightning round predictions.
okay.
Prediction number one: Lightyear, hit, medium, or flop.
I'm gonna say medium.
Right. I think that they're gonna, just because it's. I agree. I think it's because it's a
Yeah.
known franchise. We're gonna, enough people will go during the first week, and that, like Doctor Strange, it'll have a nice established beachhead.
Hmm.
Although I could see kids saying, "I want to go see the dinosaurs instead." Where's Woody?
Yeah.
But I think it's gonna, like, be a moderate success. I don't think
Yeah.
it's
I
gonna
do.
blow the doors off anything, because Pixar movies haven't been blowing the doors off anything for a while. See Seeing Red,
Yeah. Mhm.
or don't see Seeing Red. Like, apparently it didn't do very well on Disney Plus.
Yeah.
So second bold prediction: Do they can the Flashpoint? Do they just release it with Ezra Miller and just call it a wash, just to establish the universe, or do they recast and reshoot?
Ooh. I'm going to say they were going to release it and call it a wash.
Okay. So I think they will ultimately have to. I think they'll ultimately have to reshoot.
Mm.
Yeah. So we'll see. So we're putting on our bold predictions here. Third bold prediction: does Amber Heard appear in Aquaman 2, or do they recast and reshoot those 10 to 20 minutes?
I think they're going to recast her and reshoot those 10 to 20 minutes.
Agreed. I think that the rumors that we heard about Nicole Kidman's character being inserted it's actually very parsimonious, because you don't have to worry about people being unhappy about a new actress being in the role, and you don't have to worry about and you don't have to like introduce a new character because the character already exists.
Right.
So those are our predictions. We are split on if they actually, or how they actually handle Flashpoint. Which, man, if they had just said, "Oh crap, there's a big crap storm coming our way. Let's just release Flashpoint now, warts and all," and they might have gotten some money.
Yeah.
If we both kind of think that Lightyear will be a modest hit, which we'll be able to see most clearly next week's show. And we are both united of the opinion that Amber Heard will not appear as Mara in front of people again.
And well, Dean Rhino says Lightyear will flop. Gonna recast Flashpoint with one Ezra Miller scene, and Amber Heard will be in Aquaman 2.
Very different predictions. By the way, this kind of lightning round prediction takes the place of my light novelty game, which I totally didn't forget about until 5 minutes ago. Well, we'll have to play again next time. But this was a pretty packed episode.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's all the time we have for tonight. Again, thank you everybody for watching. We appreciate it. Once again, if you haven't subscribed already, hit the subscribe button, like the stream, hit the bell for notifications, and
all those good things.
And we will see you all next week. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
The life of a spy isn't as glamorous as I thought. But it isn't dull.